Hello and welcome to Love Anything Art. I will show you today how I made this really cute, simple necklace. Hey, welcome. So glad you guys could be here today. I have a scrap clay / new clay project for you. I chose some pretty clay that had some blues and greens and golds in them. I'm just going to take some of those out of there. Kind of separate all the big pieces. I did make something out of this on a previous video, and I will link that in the description box below. And of course, cat hairs. So I'll just go ahead and start chopping up my pieces into smaller pieces. You can do varying sizes, some big, some small. It's totally up to you. You experiment. While I'm kind of doing that, I just wanted to welcome everybody to my channel. So glad to see you. And if you could just do me a huge favor if you are new here, and please hit that subscribe button. It totally helps out my channel, and I do have almost 200 videos. And you know what? I do have to say, they are pretty good. Now, I have come up with a lot of different ideas. It's mainly jewelry, so earrings and necklaces. So please join the fun or leave me a comment below. I love to interact with everybody. Go ahead and break up any large pieces that might be stuck together from chopping them up. Just go ahead and make sure everything's mixed and chopped pretty thoroughly. Okay, now I've laid it out into a long tube shape. Just going to go ahead, use my fingers, and start pressing everything together. Get everything joined together in one cohesive lump. Then just peel it up there, give it a roll, very gentle, start evening everything out, pressing in those sides to keep the pieces all together. And I rolled it out pretty thin. I'll show you here in a minute just about how thick it is. There you go, a little side view for you. You can experiment and decide how thick you want to make yours. I'm going to lay it on my work surface here and then just start gently pressing it down and together to flatten it. You can use your roller. And I do kind of go back over it once I've flattened it with my fingers. I just feel like I have better control when I do it with my fingers first. So I have mine all flattened and ready to go. Also, I did the same thing to some gold clay. This is jewelry gold. And I did cut down or trim down the sides. And I'm going to do the same thing to my scrap clay so that they are both just about the same thickness. Just using the edge of my tissue blade and going down one side and then coming down the other side. Alright, I have my 2 strips of clay and my circle cutter that I will be using. You want to make 2 circles from this pattern. So make sure that you have enough space and you make enough of the weave pattern to accommodate cutting out 2. So it'll probably be about that big, so I can get out 2 circle shapes. I'm just going to go ahead and cut down my little clay pieces here to size. And basically, you'll just want to put in a podcast and go ahead and start cutting these up into even length pieces. And if you are a podcast fan, please leave me a little note down in the comment section. Let me know what you listen to. It's like a piano almost. I personally love true crime. I find it fascinating. And in another life, I would have loved to have been a crime scene investigator or something in criminal justice. But let me know what you listen to, what podcasts you listen to, if you listen to any. I'm always up for new ideas and listening to new things. You'll basically want to just start laying out your colors and alternating between the scrap clay and your gold clay or whatever color you choose. Basically just weaving it in and out of each of the colors. I'm just going to kind of let you watch here and look. I won't show you too much. I think you'll pretty much get the idea of how to do the little weave pattern. But I'll let you see it for just a few seconds here. Alright, I got mine all together. And I do need to go ahead and cut off all of the excess on the bottom and then the sides here. Again, cut away those pieces and put them in your scrap clay pile, and then add those back to your solid color clays too. And totally optional, but I do want to make sure everything is joined together very nicely. So I am just using a little bit of pressure with the pads of my finger, being sure to flip it over and do the same to the other side. Not trying to squish or anything, just trying to get everything together. Okay, so I am going to cut out a circle shape. So just lay it on there and cut out your circle shape. This is a circle that is big enough that will cover over a mold, the heart mold, which I will show you in a second. And I will cut out the second one in just a few minutes, but I want to work on this first one here. And I'm using the largest heart shape on my mold. And I do have a link for this mold. If you want to purchase it, I will leave it in the description box below for you. So I'm going to take my circle and fit it down into the heart shape. I don't want to do a whole lot of pressing. I don't want to flatten my design pattern that I have. I'm just going to use my fingers to guide it down in there to the top part of the heart. And then I'll flip it around, press my finger up through the back, and then lightly press on the top. Get the clay down in there, and then I can release my finger from the back, and it'll kind of suction cup it down into the mold. And then just going to use my fingers with very light pressure to get it stuck inside of there. And you will have a little bit of excess that comes over the top, so just need to cut that away. And I found the best way to cut so that you don't distort your shape is to kind of go at a halfway point and cut towards yourself. I know, dangerous. And then it will do the second cut away. Just make sure it's good and tucked into that mold. And then just slice it off. You don't need a lot of pressure to do so. Just gently take that off. We got halfway done. And then you can turn it around and cut off the remainder that's kind of poking over the top there. And then just flip it over and literally pop it out. Boop. And you have your pretty heart shape. I have Butterfinger shaky hands today, sorry about that. And my little heart shape, it is hollow on the back side. Yay! And I want mine to be a little bit more prominent on the top for the curve down, and then the bottom for the point. So I'm just using a rubber tool here. I'm going to gently indent the top a little bit just to get a better, more precise heart shape. And I'm going to cut off my shape. I want to be sure that the bottom point lines up with the tissue blade. Be sure that when you cut away a little bit at a time so that you don't overcut and then kind of ruin your piece. So if you think that you might not make a precise cut, then cut off a little bit, cut off a little bit more, and that way you have room for errors. I'm going to be super careful when making my cut. I'm just bending my tissue blade, making sure that it lines up right down there at the point. That is probably the most important thing. And this is so that both hearts will match in the end. And then you can cut away pretty much as little or as much as you want. And as I was cutting, I actually was like, hey, this would be a really cool idea for some earrings. So I will show you those earrings I make from this piece that I cut away from the heart at the end of the video. If your heart got a little bit distorted when you were cutting, you can always put it back in the mold and then press it down in there and get the shape a little bit more precise. And then you'll want to make a second heart, cut it out. Okay, I have my second heart all ready to go. And my first heart. And since you do want them to be a front and back version of each other, you'll have to flip over the second one. And then line up the two hearts as best as possible so that when we cut away the rest of the heart from the whole heart in a minute, that everything lines up really well for a final product. And just go ahead and very gently cut away. And you can actually leave the heart the way it is with the back part whole and the top part kind of cut. But we'll continue on here. And I'm going to save that again for the pair of earrings. I'll show you at the end. And I made sure that one was nice and still had that heart shape. And before putting them together, I would recommend putting a little bit of Bacon Bond on the edge or the rim on both sides of the heart. And then place the hearts back together and line them up as best as possible, making sure that the two ends are pointed and come together. And then I would just leave it sitting there for a few minutes to probably about an hour or so, just as long as it takes to get the Bacon Bond to dry. And then we'll pick it back up once it's dry. Okay, I actually left mine overnight because I got distracted with life and had to stop doing my clay stuff. But it is definitely dry. And I'm just going to smooth out the seam. If yours looks fine without it being smooth, you can totally skip this part. Up to you. I just want to make sure everything's very cohesive. And then my point, I want to make sure is nice and pointed. And so that your opening stays wide instead of flattening while baking, you can put a tool inside of there and bake that in the oven, just like that. Once it has baked, you'll want to start applying your metal pieces. And I just made these little U shapes or V shapes. And I have a couple of those I made. I just basically took a piece of stick pin that you make jewelry findings out of, put it on my little needle nose pliers here, and then pull down the sides to give it that U shape. And then you'll want to start attaching them to your heart. And they'll kind of look like that once they're on there. You'll go all the way down. You could put as many or as few as you would like. I would recommend starting with the one that goes in the center, and then you can build out in each direction. This is just so that everything is symmetrical and looks kind of even. So you'll drill your holes, and then you'll place your stick pins in there. Make sure they press in there pretty good. That's just so it will be sturdy. And be sure to glue in those after you have made all of your holes and everything's good to go. Just using a little crazy glue. Oh, and I totally forgot. I wanted to put a cute little heart in the middle. So you do want to do that before you put on your little metal pieces, because it would be really hard to do that without. I'm a bonehead, so before you put your metal pieces in, you'll want to get your little finding, little heart jewel or whatever you put in there, a bead, or if you want to skip this, that's fine. I just really, really like the way it looks in there in the end. So I have a little hook that I'm going to drill a hole in the top of the heart and attach it in there. But I just kind of want to find out exactly where I want it to set inside for dangling purposes. And once I did that, I just go ahead and drill my little hole that I need. Okay, so I'm using this wire to hang my necklace. You can use whatever wires you want, or however you're going to assemble your piece. You can kind of assemble it two different ways when putting in the little hook for the hanging. You can either go straight down the center where the heart would be in the middle, or slightly off to the side. And I am going to do mine slightly off to the side because I felt like the little dangle heart in the middle hung better that way. And I'm just going to pick out my clasp. And I have these little heart clasps. They're so cute. I thought they'd be perfect for the heart-themed necklace that I'm making. I'll leave a link for these in the description box below if you would like to check those out. And I put it together, and this is it. And I did put a very thin layer of resin just around where the metal findings are poking out there, and that's just for extra stability. And of course, as promised, the little earrings that I made, I just love them. I love how they came out. They're so cute. They're dangly. I love dangly earrings. Got a little fun little heart ball thing on the end down there. Or not a heart, a rose. Just kind of showing you how I have it hanging on there. I so hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching if you are still watching at this point. And as always, see you next Tuesday. Bye!